It is 37 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to American Morning. We all know cities across the country are facing budget cuts and have been forced to make some very tough choices. In Topeka, Kansas, though, they cannot afford to prosecute domestic abuse cases. So their solution? Change the law. Abusing your spouse is now legal in Topeka, Kansas, at least according to the city law it is. In a spat with their district attorney's office over the cost of prosecuting domestic abuse cases, the Topeka City Council voted Tuesday amidst protests to repeal its domestic abuse law.
It seems maybe hard-hearted to, if you look at the surface of repealing your ordinance against domestic battery. Well, you know, we don't have an ordinance against murder either, but that doesn't make us a pro-murder city.
The move came after Topeka's district attorney Chad Taylor announced that due to budget cuts, his office would no longer handle Topeka's domestic abuse cases. This meant the responsibility of prosecuting the cases would fall on the city of Topeka. But that costs money. Money the city of Topeka says it doesn't have. So no one has handled the domestic abuse cases, and about 30 suspects have gone unprosecuted since the standoff began a month ago.
There's no fig leaf that somehow the city should be handling these matters that have been a long-time responsibility of the county.
And the city council's move seems to have worked. District Attorney Chad Taylor announced Wednesday that as a matter of public safety, his office is forced to resume prosecuting Topeka's domestic battery cases.
The whole situation's unfortunate. And the sad part about it is that if we go back to 8 weeks ago, we told everyone what the ramifications of these budget cuts were going to be.
Further evidence of just how bad the budget cuts appear to be, District Attorney Chad Taylor, who you just heard from, he also added that domestic abuse cases will have to be handled by interns who are second-year law students. They have temporary law licenses and are supervised by assistant DAs who will prosecute a case, with the intern if, of course, that case goes to trial. It's just a troubling story all the way around.
It really is.
I mean, I guess they had this thought in mind that if your husband or wife beats you, you could charge that person with assault, right? And not domestic battery.
Some of the penalties are different for domestic violence than for assault, and the key here is who normally prosecutes these things. If it's normally the DA, and the DA is now pushing on the city, and the city says, look, we don't prosecute murder here, we don't do domestic assaults, then it becomes a fight between which local government with tight budgets is going to handle it. Another interesting story this week, there's a county in New Jersey where they plead all the drug deals down to the most minor possible so they can get more of them through because they just don't have the money to prosecute them. And this is what not having enough money, this is what running deficits, this is what it looks like when your budgets are awry, and it's very painful.
You have to like think about the long-term effects. Crime is down all over the nation, right? And there's a reason for that, and maybe it's because we're prosecuting people or charging them with crimes. But if cities continue and counties continue to cut their budgets and they can't even charge people with the proper crime, what's going to happen then?
I want to be clear about that, too, because we called Topeka earlier this week, and I wanted to be very clear that if someone is a victim or thinks they're a victim of domestic violence, what do? You still call the police still come to your house, and they still can actually arrest somebody and will arrest somebody. So that part hasn't. Then what happens to the case is the big question.
Right, but a lot of women are still afraid to even call the police. And if you make, like, you know, domestic battery, like, sort of not a crime in your city, is that going to make you want to call more and report the crime?
I think his point is that it's still a crime in the state level, it's still a crime
but in the minds of the person who's being beaten, it's like, this is not important to the city of Topeka, so why should I bother to call? That's what it says. That's what domestic violence advocates say.
Right.
Not domestic violence advocates, but you understand.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
All right, well, we'll continue this discussion in the break. We're going to take one to pay some bills. We'll be right back in just a minute.